A one and a two and Rusty the reseller, he'll sell you the shirt off his back. Well, I have done it. All right, look at this. This is the newest addition to the warehouse. This just came in, folks, and I'm almost certain that this is at least an 1800s violin. It may be a 1700s. First thing I'm going to do is take off those strings. I'm going to dab it down with some water and a cloth, let it dry, and then I'm going to take this into a violin shop and get an expert's opinion on it and do some research. But this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to learn more about it. Do you see here where the this line right here is where the top of this instrument has been attached in a joint right here. That is very typical of older instruments. They would attach them in that way. Very beautiful instrument. But what I'm going to attempt to do, well, first off, let me show you right here. One of the things I can look up is this where it says John Friedrich and Brothers. So that would have been the manufacturer of this particular component, I suppose. In this metal, I've seen other pieces that are very old that have that same look. But inside of here is, if I can get the light, I don't know if I can. I'm going to try to zoom in here. I'm going to try to see if I can get the light just right so that you can see inside. Now, do you see those right there, those little white squares? Those are like little cleats that have been put in there as an attempt to restore and protect this from a crack that was in there at one time. And as I continue to move down and allow the light to come in, boom, now you're going to see the label through the F-hole here. And what it looks like is David Teckler or Troller or something like that. And then it says Fesset Roma, and I believe it's going to say a number there. And that would be roughly the year of manufacture. See that line? This is a paper label, folks. And I believe this to be a genuine label. I do not believe this to be a forgery, although I don't know because I'm not an expert in these things. But let me tell you, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay this instrument down here on the floor. And what I've rigged up here is I've got this little bottle of purified water I just opened, and I'm taking a paintbrush here, okay? Come on now. This is just a little paintbrush, a thin one. And at the end, I put rubber bands and these little Q-tips. And what I'm going to do is attempt to get some water on this and stick it down through this sound hole and very, very gently, very slowly rub just a little bit, just enough to where I can clearly make out the words on that, so that I can use that as a way of researching this instrument, find out exactly who the manufacturer is. If there's a number, awesome, I can plug that in. I've contacted a local violin luthier, and I'm going to take this into that individual to have them look at it, give me some information, assess the damage, determine if it's worth repairing, what repairs would be needed, the cost. Ultimately, I'm wanting to know age and manufacturer, and you can see that the nut here has come detached. It is in this case, but to have these pieces reattached, the horsehair on these bows have been have long since been ripped out or destroyed or deteriorated. I want to get this sucker restrung if I can. You can see there's things here in the end. This pitch pipe obviously newer, but this component here goes on the bottom of this. It wraps onto the bottom here, and then it would be pulled with the tension of the strings up over the bridge piece, which would go here, and that is also in here. Got a couple of different pieces, and I'm not exactly sure. Let me grab these out. I'm not exactly sure what goes where. Totally. I have a good idea, but here's a bridge piece. This will sit up vertically like this in whichever spot. Now, that's another thing that I don't know is like, what's the proper distance? What's the optimal distance for that to be placed? The luthier will know. And then there's this piece, and I don't actually know what this piece is for, where it goes. I'll be doggoned, you know. So someone's going to have to figure that out and tell me as well. And then here is the nut, and I could glue this on. I do know how to do guitar, mandolin, banjo type repair work, but I've never actually worked on a violin, and I don't want to attempt it on something this old and potentially valuable, so I'm going to allow the luthier to do that. They know best what type of glue to use and what to use here, but I'm excited to see where this goes. Very excited to get back with you and let you know. I finished up a little bit of this cleaning, just dabbing a little bit, and this is what the label has revealed. All right, I have one of these little clicker lights here, and so we're going to zoom in. And I'm going to attempt to put light in from over here so that we can see what we're looking at. Let me get it in place here. Here we go. Okay, so let's see if I can zoom in. David. Come on now. David Teckler. I was hoping that this would be even better for you. Fessett Roma. And this is the label, folks. Look at this. Fessett Roma. Now, folks, people who do copies of these things can make old-looking labels. And so it's not outside the realm of possibility at all that is not an authentic label. In fact, the odds are very high that it is not. There's also the possibility that, say, someone purchased this and knew who the manufacturer was, and the label was either never on there to begin with, or it was on there and it fell off, deteriorated, and or someone was like, you know what, I need to put one in there so that future people will know what it is. It'd be like if I painted a painting and didn't sign my name to it, and then like 50 years later was like, well, you know, I probably should sign that. And then I signed it. Well, you know, it is still my signature, and it's still, even though it wasn't done at the time. Or even if someone else signed my name, it was done by me, even if someone else put the name on there. So there's several possibilities, and I don't know what it's going to be, folks, but doggone it if this is not a beautiful instrument. I will say that I did learn that one little component that I was not familiar with later, that little piece of that brown wood that was carved out, that was actually a mute, apparently. So you can put that on the strings over here by the bridge if you want to, say, practice and do stuff but not make lots of noise. So that was cool to find that out. That goes on there. And then also I opened up this bag of resin. I want to show you that. So pulling out this little bag here, let me get rid of this this little baggie. It doesn't look like anything special, but if I take this and I unwind it, or it's kind of elasticy here, it's definitely old. Pop it open and you can see here's some really old resin that has broken. I'm not even going to pull it off there. It's attached in there. It's still kind of stuck to it. You can see there's some holes in this fabric, but if I open this up, the AB rosin inflexible cover, it's birches. And it says made in England. W.E. Hill Sons, 140 New Bond Street West. So we have an item in here that is clearly manufactured in England. So we have another item that is branded as something from Europe. So that's a good sign. We're closer to where this supposedly was made. I looked up this individual, David, and he was a German maker, violin maker. And so we're over in Europe. So to find another item, I'm not going to mess that. I don't want to break it. I find another item in here that is from Europe. Also, just like everything I'm seeing is lending credibility to this so far. Not a single thing has happened yet that I have seen to indicate that this is a fake yet. And again, by fake, I mean a direct copy and trying to pass itself off as an original thing made by this individual. So far, maybe Mr. David did make this this violin, but we need the experts to weigh in. I'm hoping to hear from someone soon. folks, update on this little beauty down here, this violin over my shoulder. Took it into the local luthier who does repair work on instruments, sells violins and such. He looked it over and he said, well, it appears to be German make based on the shape of the body. He said it's not as flattened out, it's more bowed up, kind of in the top and the back. These are all things I've never heard of. And he's looking at it and he's like, it's quite interesting. He looks at the label and he's like, you know, a lot of these things are faked and this and that. And we talked about it and he basically concluded, yes, this is an old violin. I don't know how old it is, but it's old. He said he's been looking at these violins for 18 years. He's never seen one with this name and this label in it. He said it looks like a Steiner, S-T-A-I-N-E-R type build, like a German copy possibly, or maybe a German make. I pulled up this person's name, David Techler, and according to biography information of this man on Google, he was operating from circa 1660 to 1747. He was a German maker who moved to Rome and did work. And so everything that this man, without knowing that information ahead of time, said based on his experience matched up perfectly with the information about this specific maker. So maybe this is still a copy, maybe this is not made by that individual, but whoever it was making a German style violin, and they were, you know, everything was on point so far. And he said, I don't usually do this, but let me refer you to someone. Apparently there's someone else in town who does repair work, who's a builder of violins, who does symphonic repair work for people who work in symphonies, like serious, legit, professional musicians. And it just this person happens to live in my little town as well, which is awesome. I've given her a call and I hope to hear back from her today, so stay tuned. We're gonna find out what this little thing is all about. What secrets does it hold? I cannot wait. Rusty, 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 how